So you know the story of how I created this podcast, right? It's Robbie in the Dominican Republic said, I'm starting this podcast. And I said, that sounds amazing. I'm going to do it as well. And I'm going to create the most incredible thing ever. And I'm going to stick to it forever and ever and ever. And as the podcast has grown, it's ranked really high in countries around the world for entrepreneurship. It's ranked with Alex Hormozi. It's a podcast that is binged. People love it. They're constantly sharing it, giving us amazing reviews. They're talking about it. I get DMs all the time from the podcast of people saying, I absolutely love this. Thank you so much. I want to talk with you in this episode about getting your podcast to grow with some really simple strategies that you can plug in to your business at any point in time throughout the year, and it will help you double your income. So you ready for this? Are you excited? I hope you're like smiling ear to ear right now, because I know I am. So one of the easiest things to do when you have a podcast is not post about it on social media, not try and send traffic to it from your different platforms, not try and run ads to it, not even try and add in like a bunch of podcast guests and speakers. The easiest way to grow it is by leveraging the people that you currently have following you. And so you have, in case you've forgotten, humans that are listening to your podcast, real people that are listening to every episode with a beating heart, and you know what they want to do? They, more than anything, want to see you win. And so for some reason, you feel like, oh, people don't want to see you win, that your people don't want to share your episodes, that they don't want to listen to them. Do you know how many times with the Business Coaching Podcast, people are like, Bridget, when are you uploading another episode? I need more of this. I love this. This has changed my life. I actually shared it with all my clients. Oh, I actually sent this out to my email list. Do you know how many emails we get from people asking to be on the Business Coaching Podcast? All of the time, people are asking. Yeah, so it's the same thing with yours. People want to share your work, but you got to ask them. So one of the easiest things you can do, without you even lifting a finger in a long period of time, you have to set it up in the beginning, but once it's set up, it works so well, is run a behind the scenes podcast challenge. So this one that we're doing right now is a behind the scenes podcast challenge, right? And we're doing a focus topic. So the focus of this month's podcast is visibility. And I'm showing you how I'm doing it, and I'm also doing it at the same time. So I'm leading you through how I actually lead and grow my podcast, but I'm also just doing what I would normally do with my podcast, which is deliver value, tell stories, and nurture relationships. So one of the things you can set up either this month or next month or whatever month inside of your business is a podcast challenge. What you get to do, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process. Is that cool if I give that to you? How freaking amazing is that? All you do is you create an episode that says, hey, I'm doing a podcast challenge. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's the time frame. And you reward your listeners who are already bought in, like your number one raving fans, which our podcast listeners are our number one raving fans. They're obsessed with the podcast. They love listening to it. It's a very different type of relationship built than on Instagram or TikTok or any of these other platforms. You ask them to share the episodes. Now, I have so many genius ideas of ways that you can share it, but I'm going to give you a couple here, and I want you to let your creativity run wild. So the first one is just have them share it to their social media and tag you. The reason we ask people to tag us and Team Freedom Queen is because that's how we can track it. Otherwise, they would have to submit screenshots, and who's going to do that? We ask them to tag us, and then we go into our archive and we tally who's shared it. Now, you can do it a couple different ways. For this podcast challenge, we're doing a giveaway every Friday. So every Friday, I'm going through the archive and the team and looking at who shared the episode, and then at random, we're pulling one winner to get that prize, and the prize is billed every Friday. So make sure you're sharing these episodes, especially this one if you're getting a lot of value out of it, and any that you get value out of, and tag me and Team Freedom Queen. That's one way. You can have the giveaway once a week. Other way is do the giveaway at the end of the month and let the entries double, triple, quadruple over time. So every single time someone tags you on their Instagram stories with the podcast, they get entered to win. And every single time they enter, that increases their chances of winning that podcast prize. That's another way to go about it. So it's all month long, but you got to remind people. Just like we do in our show notes, it's so simple. Here's the details of what to do. Here's how to win. The next way is, we did this in April. We had, when you shared it with 15 people, you got to be featured on the podcast. And so what some of my clients did is they went and shared it with their coaching communities. They went and shared it with their clients, with their Facebook group, with their Telegram group, and said, hey, we shared it, and then we just had them screenshot for this one, since it was a one-time action, share it with the team, and then they got to schedule to be on the podcast. Amazing, right? Another one we did is when people give us a review, you can submit any question. And with the way we set this up, so simple, is people submitted a review. We sent them a Google form congregated all of the questions people had. The team sent it to me, and I recorded episodes for every single person that submitted a question. Amazing value. Just by doing this, what's happening? You're not doing anything. The only thing you're doing is making the episodes that ideally you're already making. And what most people are doing with their podcast is they're just making episodes, dropping gold, but nobody knows about it. And then when they think to themselves, oh my gosh, well, I don't want to do a podcast guest tour, and I got to get it out there and share it on social media. No, yeah, you can do that. That's awesome. Or you can get your people to share the good word of your gold with their entire audience, double, triple, quadruple your reach. This is what we do all the time. And so people are overcomplicating. You're overcomplicating it. So this is why in Freedom Queen, I teach simple scales, complex fails. Quit overcomplicating it, make it easy. Make it be something that you don't actually even need to touch. And if you want to go even crazier, you can batch all of your episodes in the beginning of the month and then schedule them out to go out. I've done this some months, and some months I don't. Depends on the season we're in. You can schedule them all out with the title and the description, and then it's completely hands-off. And if you have people tagging you on your Instagram stories, guess what? You're already there selling every day. You just reshare them. They go into your archive. At the end of the month, you select the winner. Okay, I literally just made someone so much money, because the person that's going to implement this is going to see so much growth in their podcast, so many lives change. You're going to get your work in the hands of so many other people. And for many of you, this is why I'm so passionate about helping women create millions at lightning speed, and they do. The people that implement my work and lean into mentorship, they end up doing that. I'm so passionate about this because many of you are geniuses. You have incredible work to share with people. You are awesome at what you do, but nobody knows your name. And so you got to think, you got to be smart. You got to go, okay, well, what can I do to get your work in the hands of more people, but without you having to do so much? Simple scales, complex fails. Okay, Freedom Queen. So what I want you to do is, number one, I want you to share this episode to your Instagram stories. Tag me and Team Freedom Queen. Every Friday, I select a winner of the episode, and it is cumulative. So every single time you share to your IG story, you're entered into the pot, and one winner is chosen every single Friday, and our prizes get bigger and bigger and bigger every single week. We're doing things like you get the Freedom Queen Netflix included inside of it. You get to pick from one of the courses inside of the Freedom Queen Netflix. You get a Freedom Queen necklace, the custom gold necklace by one of our designers that we've used for a very long time. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm not going to tell you about the grand prizes just yet. Let me just say, you're going to want to share it to your Instagram story. I would share multiple to your Instagram story every single day of the week at least do one, or at least 3 days per week, so that you increases your chances to get the grand prize, which I'll select at the end of July. Let me just say, it's a really big prize. I'll leave it at that. Maybe I'll give some clues throughout the podcast as we go along. But share it. And then the second thing I want you to do is I want you to implement. You got to implement, because information without implementation is nothing. So I want you to go implement this. And then once you start getting results from it, send me a message on Instagram at Bridget James Lang, and go get your work into the hands of the thousands.